Well, while we're here still in Alaska, as we haven't left yet, we're shopping locally. We're at the Muldoon Farmers Market on Saturdays, and I have found this guy, Kodiak Scallops. They're all over Anchorage. They're on Facebook as the Shrimp Guys. I purchased some scallops from them that I'm going to cook this evening, kind of a Peruvian style with cream and potatoes. This guy here, if it's your first time buying from him, he'll give you a really good deal, but only the first time because he never forgets a face. So when you're in Alaska, when you're in Anchorage, find these guys. They park around town. They're at the local markets. And hang out while I cook my dinner this evening. Alright, you're gonna have to forgive me for the fresh showered look. I figured that you, the viewer, deserved at least that much. And my throne setting. Alright, so tonight's dish is going to be scallops with potatoes, and I mentioned that it's Peruvian or Peruvian inspired. Now, you may or may not know that the world owes Peru for the potato. They grow about 150 different kinds of potato, even some that are sweet, but not to be mistaken for the yam, which comes from Africa. They were the first ones to dry it, an interesting process of leaving it sliced overnight to freeze and then smashing it with your feet to dry it and in the sun. Anyway, Peru is where the birthplace of the potato is, or the Inca Empire as a whole. So the another part of my dish, the main part beside the potato, is scallop. This is our fresh, well not fresh, it's frozen, wild Alaska caught scallops from this summer. I showed you a minute ago who I got these from. Now you might not think seafood when you think of Peru because so much, or Inca, because of so much of their empire was inland, but the Peruvians had an amazing trail system and runners. So if the king of Peru in Sucre, in the center of the Inca Empire, wanted seafood, they could have someone running in a relay from the ocean 1,200 miles away, and he would have fresh seafood, or fresh enough. I think it was within like 12 hours or a day, because they would all run a certain distance and they could run at a full speed and pass it off to the next guy. And so that's one of the amazing things about the Inca Empire, among so many other things. So that's why I have scallops, which are not uncommon in Peru, and the potato, of course. Anyone who's been to South America knows that cilantro is very important, and we also, through the Columbian exchange, owe South America the chilies. They found them coming over looking for pepper on a way to India, and they called them peppers because they had a kind of kick like that. Now I'm going to use two different kinds. I'm going to use this pablano chili so that Nathan has some fresh green chili flavor without the heat. And then for mine, I'm going to use ají amarillo, or some people call it ají amarillo. In the Spanish, it's amarillo. I'm not sure what they say in Peru, so if anybody knows specifically, let me know. In the meantime, I'm going to call it ají amarillo. Ají means pepper. Amarillo is a type of pepper. It's a bright yellow pepper and rather large. Maybe not as big as the poblano pepper, but very long. And so those are my ingredients for the dish. I'm going to use heavy cream to put it together. It's not unheard of in Peru for people to use some of the Italian influences. They had a lot of Italians come over and Chinese come over. So there's a huge number of influences in what is modern day Peruvian cooking. But I'm going to stick to just heavy cream and use these flavors. Now, if I was in Peru, I probably would be using ají amarillo paste. And I think what they do is they take the chili and puree it and typically salt it and allow it to ferment. It's very similar to the Japanese yuzu paste. I don't have that, and again, I'm trying to keep Nathan's dish not as spicy, so I'm going to use this in my dish at the end. Ají amarillo has a pretty solid amount of heat. It's not the hottest pepper out there, but it's definitely hotter than a serrano chili. So just keep that in mind. I got this at our local spice place. It is something I kind of have to search out, but it's totally Peruvian. So if you want to do Peruvian, you've got to have this. Well, and some other ones that they use too. All right, here I've prepped my first couple ingredients. I'm using yellow potatoes, or Yukon Gold. I'm only making this for Nathan and I, so there's only one potato here. I'll put a recipe for probably serving four in the instructions below. I slice them kind of like you do au gratin or scallop potatoes. I wanted them just some texture when you're eating it, and we're going to first saute them with the garlic, salt, and pepper, and some fish stock. If you don't have fish stock, you could use chicken stock or vegetable broth stock. Either one of those will work. All right, I said saute, but what I actually meant was simmer. The reason that I'm going to simmer these instead of saute them in oil, the sauteing gives a really great kind of crispy burn flavor, but I don't necessarily want that in my soup. It's similar to using barbecued, like grilled chicken in your soup. You end up with kind of this burnt flavor that's not always really appealing. So we're going to let this simmer for a little bit. The other reason for doing the potatoes in the stock first is that they're going to kind of leave some of their starch in that stock, and that is going to help thicken up our sauce when we're done. All right, we've let these simmer for about 5 minutes. True to the goal, it has thickened up a little bit. I'm going to set this aside while I cook the scallops, and then we'll put them all together and create our final dish. To make the green sauce, I'm going to blend the poblano chili and some cilantro and some lime and a little bit of salt. The poblano chili I roasted so that I could peel the skin off, but then for my son, I additionally blanched it in a couple changes of water. Even though poblano is known for being relatively mild, Nathan really does not like any amount of spice, and so that's kind of a trick if you want to make something that has the flavor of chilies but really tone down the spice. You can do that with any kind of chili. Blanch it several times in changes of water. You get the flavor but less of the heat. Obviously a hotter pepper, you'll still have some heat, but that's a trick for particularly if you're cooking with kids. It's not completely pureed, it still has some texture, and this will make for interesting, textures in our dish. Alright, here's the fun part. Now we're sauteing the scallops in butter. We're going to brown them a little bit, make sure they're cooked on both sides, and in just a minute we're going to add the potatoes that we had cooked and create our sauce, pull everything together. Alright, we've combined our potatoes and our scallops. We're going to add the heavy cream to this over low heat. We're going to let it simmer for just a few minutes. Salt and pepper to flavor, and we'll be on our way to a finished dish rather quickly. This simmer point is actually the time when you're going to want to add that amarillo. I pulled some aside for Nathan that didn't have any of it in it. You're going to notice it doesn't take a lot. Of course, you can spice this up as much as you want, but the amarillo packs quite a bit of punch, so maybe put it in small increments and make sure that you're going to be able to get through the dish. Of course, it is cream-based, so that's going to make a difference on how spicy the final product actually tastes. But let this simmer. It's going to thicken a little bit, and we will be ready to serve, topped with our green sauce. All right, Nathan, who has just had a blue slushy. Here we are. We're going to try our food. Tell me what you think, Nathan.
I'm going to try this.
Is that a scallop?
I hope
they're really sweet and buttery, and then on top of that, they're cooked in butter.
Ooh, what's that?
Potato.
Ooh.
That's pretty good, isn't it? Creamy.
I still have a blue tongue.
You do have a blue tongue.
This tastes good.
So, you can mix in a little bit of that chili cilantro as you go along. Make sure you get a little bit with each bite. What do you think?
Oink, oink.
Pretty good winning recipe. So there you have it. Wild-caught Alaska scallops, Peruvian style, with some chilies and cilantro. You can control the amount of heat that you want. It's not real complicated. It takes a few minutes, and you might want to prep your ingredients, but
This is the best.
Nathan tells you it's the best.
Well, it is the best.
Thanks. If you like this recipe, I have it posted on our website, Semiserious Chefs. You can check it out. We're on Facebook and Instagram. All of our new recipes get posted on Facebook. So you can like our Facebook page, and then every time we put something new out, it will be there for you. And we are also on YouTube. Not only do we cook, but we're going to be traveling as a family. So we'd love it if you come along and check it out with us. And I hope that this recipe works really well for you. Give me your feedback if you liked it, or if you made some changes, or if you've had other Peruvian food. I would love to hear about it. So give us some comments, and we will see you around. To get every last morsel.